Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I'm very loud. Let's put it closer to you. It's already pointing at you.
Is that better?
I think so. Yeah. See, I'm still boomier.
Whisper.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
We're back. We're both. You said I was jittery.
Yeah. Unpredictable, I would say.
Unpredictable.
Yeah.
I'm like the wind.
Yeah. It's the season. The season is... It's Marbon, right?
It
I
is,
don't know if I
which is
pronounced that correctly.
Marbon.
It might be Mabon. It might be Marbon. I
Do
don't
you
know.
want to explain what Mabon is?
Sure.
Marbon.
It's the equinox, in it. So
It's when.
it's the shift from summer to autumn, and it's when the day and night are equal length. Is that
So
right?
Marbon is
Yes.
when they're equal length,
They're equal
and
length.
then after. So we're celebrating the fact that after Marbon, the day is
Going to be
like
shorter.
subservient to the night, and that we're sort of entering into that period of time. And will we ever see another spring? Yeah, probably.
But it's like that weird time where everything's out of balance. That's how I would describe it. That's how I feel inside. And working with you as I do on a mostly daily basis, doing, similar kind of little routines and things like that. And yeah, I would say at the moment, I'm like, I could probably go, oh, he's probably going to do that now. Oh, no, he's not. He's doing something completely different to the way he would normally do. Oh, he said something completely different there. That's how I perceive your actions. Not in a positive or negative way, just in a kind of like,
Well, I would say, and this, so broadly, we're going to talk about this kind of thing, aren't we? We've talked before, and we've done episodes about getting through that winter slump and getting through the hard times.
Self-care, when you're burnt out, practitioner burnout.
But
we talked
I
about,
think
which that was kind of January time, wasn't it?
Yes, because that is the height
February.
of burnout. Because
or maybe March actually is the height of burnout. I would say because you've done January and February.
Okay. But I would say that right now we're in, because of how the academic year runs, we're at a point where I feel like I am putting in the most energy because, and it's similar to teaching in that in September you get a new class, and if you compare what you're like week 1 of September to the last week of June or July, depending on when your school finishes, the end of the school year, you've got the class as you've got that relationship, you've got it down pat, you know all your routines, and then September hits you and bang, you go, oh God, and you sort of have to remind yourself that the only reason you got like that in June and July was because in September you put all this new stuff in.
Yeah. Completely, and it's getting to know all these new people, isn't it?
Yeah, new relationships, and it's a time that requires a lot of mental energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of
for everybody as well. So the children and families are feeling that too, and so they're looking to you for a lot more support than they might need when they've known each other for longer. So as well as it being a kind of weather, temperature, daylight thing, it is also that, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, socially, because we use an academic calendar.
Yeah.
September is the start of the the thing.
And it doesn't mean that. Like, our groups haven't completely changed. We've got lots of people who've been coming for ages, and they're still coming, and that's fine. But there are new people,
and that
joining.
changes old dynamics. You can't say, little Johnny used to come before the summer holidays, and now he's back again. You go, right, but he's with 8 other different people, and he will be a different thing. And I feel as well like possibly this is a thing that comes with, we talked about the effects of being outdoors, and that I possibly am a little bit jittery because I'm in that animalistic sense of like prepping. I am
that.
prepping.
Same.
I'm just going, I'm looking at everything, and
Hoarding.
It's like the switch has come on and it's going, right, it's darker than it is light now.
Yeah.
Holy moly, right, I need a warm shelter for that, and I need to extend that, and I need to get that prepped, and that's never going to be enough dry firewood, and that's
it's like a little urgent instinct, isn't it, inside you that you can't turn off. And I think probably the more time one spends outdoors, the stronger that gets, because you're more attuned to nature and you're noticing. So there's a road I drive along to get here every morning, and it's an amazing hedgerow, and it always has good slows. But this year the hawthorn and the rose hips have gone absolutely bonkers, and so I had to like stop the car and pull over the other day. I was actually running a bit late to get here. I had to stop and I've got a little pot in my car. I always have like either a tub or a pot or a basket, and I've got some secateurs in there as well if I need them, and just like gathered loads of haws, and like I don't need them for anything. I wasn't like, I will do this because I've already got a freezer full.
Yeah.
I was like, I will just get them and bring them. I might need them for something. Like, you can't eat them, you've got to cook with them, you know. But I'm in that complete hoarder mentality.
Nature went, boom,
Yeah,
here
yeah.
is a bounty.
Must
and
get
you
it,
went,
must get it. To the extent where I was hoarding water, wasn't I? So we've had
you
loads of...
hoard
but
Pretend.
it's
It's just
particularly
a new thing. I only hoard now. Yeah,
no, it's
rubbish.
worse though. It's worse. So we had loads of rain and got loads of tarps up, and there was massive bulging tarps hitting the ground full of water, and you were about to tip it out, and I was like, do not tip it out! Hoard the water. We might need it, even though it's not for drinking and it's quite dirty. But then I was right, because then we did play with it and we filled the other little hole and made another puddle.
We'll always use it. That's the thing. You know.
Yeah. Didn't waste it by putting it on the ground.
Just to paint for people who don't know about Devon, just to the level at which so Devon is described as a maze because our hedge banks are about 9 foot tall. To the point where you are like tunnel visioned, and then you pop out in a village.
Yeah.
To the extent where, similar to you were saying about the horse, I was driving my little boy home. We stopped to let a car through, and obviously you stop, and you pull your car as far as you can into the hedgerow, and he just went, "Blackberries, Daddy," and I went, "Oh," and when the car went past, I moved back into the middle of the road, looked that nobody was coming, just put down my driver's side window, and without getting out of the truck, just grabbed like 5 or 6 blackberries and handed them back to him in his car seat, and then drove on. And I was like, "Huh, it's weird. It was like a McDonald's drive-through, but it was the hedge."
Yeah.
So, I felt like I needed to talk to one bush and go, "Yeah, some blackberries, please," and then drive on to the next bush before I get. It was It's a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think as well, it comes from, it's like an experience learning of having been through the seasons, and each time you go, "Oh, that was really good," and the first time normally it's by accident, like you accidentally got too much firewood, or you accidentally made a shelter that faced southwest or northeast or whatever and then you get into your head that like, that was the only thing that got me through. That was the only thing.
Must do that again.
Must do it again.
Yeah.
And kind of building that stuff through. But so we talked about before about this burnout and this slump, and the kind of narrowing down that I wanted to talk about this week. And you've said you don't have much to talk about it, but I think you will. Is how we look after ourselves physically. Maybe specifically during the winter, but also in general. We were talking the other day, because we were driving for like an hour and a half to go to some training together, and we were saying that we both feel like we could justify a regular full body massage on the grounds of like, I work with my body, guys. If I if my muscles seize up, then I wouldn't be able to work. So actually, do you know what? A good investment would be for me to have deep muscle, what's it called? Deep tissue massage, pretty regularly. But we don't.
I know.
We don't do that.
But I have definitely been daydreaming about that, as well as holidays. I've really, at the moment, God, winter hasn't even started yet, and I'm already going, oh, just a different place, just a little hollybobs be nice. And I took my son to the osteopath yesterday, and he was just having a nice bit of craniosacral loveliness.
Yeah.
And
did you pretend your neck hurt as well?
I was just sitting. Oh my god, I so wanted to. I was like, maybe if he doesn't want to have the treatment, I can just have it. But I was just sitting there, just going, oh. And then even the osteopath, she said it, and she was like, oh, you know what? We're both really jealous now that you've had treatment. We both really wish we just had that. And she said she didn't know anyone who did it locally either. So she spends her whole time doing it to other people and watching them being really blissed out and then never getting any in return. Yeah, definitely would be good.
Yeah. So the things that I was thinking through, the things that I do to look after myself is regular hot baths. I think are important in the winter, and just soaking in. And I feel like it's sometimes I feel like my body is a bit like one of those. Did you ever have those hand warmer pads some of them are one use and you crack it and it
Yeah.
gets hot and you keep it in your gloves. And some of them, I don't know if they have them in other places. I'm sure they do. They're like wheat and lavender
Yeah.
bags.
I've got one of
and
those,
you
You put it on your neck. It's really nice.
Right. So I feel a little bit like there's some sort of wheat and lavender core inside me, and I'm like, if I just sit in a hot bath for a while, that'll keep me warm.
It'll recharge.
For like another few days of trudging through the mud and being in, and then that it sort of counteracts that, like, oh, you've been in the sweaty, because so in this country it rains a lot and you have to wear the like thin waterproof stuff that is essentially the same as like Rocky wears when he needs to sweat off a load of weight. That tracksuit thing of like, so we're doing that essentially. We're going, right, I'm going to put waterproof, non-breathable things on. I'm going to run around with kids, and I feel like having hot baths heats some sort of core thing inside me that is then like, okay, you've got it now.
Do you know what I feel like I could really benefit with now in terms of self-care? And it might sound really harsh. I don't mean it to be harsh. I mean it more about like, you've got to put your own gas mask on.
You want me to go away?
No.
You need me to?
I would love some child-free time. Just like a
Hang on, to what?
Some
What is that?
child-free
So,
time. I think that would be awesome in terms of making me a better,
that's a good
person
recharge.
who works with children and is also a parent. Just a bit of time where you're not going to need to support somebody who's a small person for a good couple of hours, maybe longer.
I find, that it's like
just to recharge.
It's a time of like, for me, anytime I get like that, I try and use it to be really productive, because I've established that that is actually what makes me happy. Not binging TV and doing all this stuff. Actually, what does me the most good is being like, I can think my thoughts all the way to the end, and I can then go, oh, do you know what? I can go and play now in the garden because I've had that time and I've been
completely
released.
And you got to find your jag for sure. It is exactly that. It's not binging on telly or shopping or stuff like that. It's I don't know. Some people might feel chilled out after a bit of screen time, but I definitely don't. It's a different thing. Like, I definitely, at the end of a day where it has been really hard and you do need to just not think anything and just merge into bedtime, then that's a different thing, isn't it? But if you actually want some quality time for yourself, then whether that be like crafting or making something or exercising or something where, as you say, your brain is actually freed through flow. I guess you're talking flow, aren't you? You want some flow time in order to kind of reset and rebalance, for sure.
Talking of binge watching and TVing, so I think I've told you about this. No, I definitely have told you about this, but I have, in the last, say, month, taken up something that I heard about from a man called Tony Riddle, called ground living. So he took it very far and he got rid of all the furniture in his house, and they eat on the floor and do this on the floor. I haven't sat on my sofa for a month at all.
Oh my gosh.
So when I'm at home, I sit on a dinner table because we all eat dinner together. But otherwise, I've taken my computer chair away. I don't sit on the sofa.
Right.
I either squat on the floor, or I just sit on the floor.
What about on the toilet? Do you sit on the toilet?
Yes, but I use
a squatty potty.
I use my son's little stool, which is essentially the same thing.
It's all about the squatty potty.
I know. Anyway, but said the point. What I was going to say was, so his whole thing was talking about like hunter-gatherer societies, and that they don't seize up. Because in those societies, seizing up means no food. So this idea that we all have of like, oh, it's normal to have, a bit of an achy back or a bit of that means no food. And he was like, well, what do they do? Well, they all sit on the floor. And then he sort of examined it a bit more, and he watched them, and he was like, when you sit on the floor or you squat, you don't sit in any one position for more than 5 minutes because it's not comfortable. Yeah. So you're sort of essentially doing constant, very low impact yoga where you're just stretching this way and stretching that way, whereas when you sit on a sofa and you get, in air quotes, comfy, the same muscles are holding you up or relaxed for long periods of time. Whereas sitting on the floor, I used to spend, I don't know, inordinate amount of time going, God, my legs are knackered, or God, my back is going this. Haven't felt any of it for a month.
Really?
Nothing. And admittedly, I feel less rested when I go to bed because I haven't rested because I've been doing this. But looking at it big
Long
picture.
term.
And that's when I started it, I couldn't. So I can do the I think they call it an Asian squat, or a where you sit and you're just taking all the weight off your body, and I could do that, but not for very long. And I've got this thing with my
Achilles.
ankle. So my ankle is my right ankle, and I've worked up to the point where now I can sit. I've sat and read a book for 15 minutes the other day, just squatting, and I only realised that I had to stop because I finished the book, and then I was sat doing something else. Maybe I was looking for another book or something, and I had the time to think about my legs. It's almost like once you put if you're doing mindfulness, once you put your mind there, then you go, oh, actually, that is a bit achy.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was engrossed in the book, could have sat there for another, I reckon, 10 minutes doing whatever.
Amazing.
So that is the thing that I would say, and it's something that I think a lot of people would do naturally in their forest school settings, because traditional Western furniture doesn't really fit into forest schools. So we don't sit on armchairs and do whatever. We are like people would have done for thousands of years on the edge of a log, or we're doing this or whatever. And this Tony Riddle thing, he was saying, sitting furniture until the mid 1800s was incredibly rare, because it's such a luxury, and because you can just squat or sit on the floor, and and so I think that's something that I would recommend to everybody, is to just spend more time on the floor moving. Also, my floor is incredibly clean now. You don't until you start moving around on the floor, you might not realise how dirty your floor is.
Yeah. No, I think I do realise. I look at it and go, oh no. Oh no. Yeah.
Yeah. Which kind of flows into another thing that I do, which is that I go to the gym at silly o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm in the gym at 5 o'clock most mornings. I'd say 5 or 6 days a week, and then I'm there for 2 hours doing powerlifting and picking up big things. And I would say that is one of the things. So I was talking to somebody at Wilderness Gathering actually, and he was saying that he doesn't get it. He doesn't get why don't people just come and do some forestry work, to, instead of spending hours on a machine that simulates this movement. Why don't you just cut some firewood, and if you do this, blah blah blah. And I said, well, for me it's the opposite. It's the inverse, in that because I can go and pick up like a barbell that is 2.5 times my body weight. When it's like, can we move this stump over here and do a thing? Then it's
no big deal.
It's no big deal, and so I'm exerting myself less through the day.
Yeah.
If you're in the UK and you want to come down to Children of the Forest in person and do a little bit of training with us, we've got a load of dates on all the way through this next academic year. If you go to our Facebook page or our website, you'll be able to see all the dates and the titles of the courses, and make sure you've got your ticket as soon as possible. They're all small groups so that we can do as much personalised learning as possible. In March, we've got a course on storytelling, music and drama. In April, a course of general outdoor learning involving a level 1 in forest school qualification. In May, we've got an outdoor cooking course, and in June, we've got an introduction to whittling. And if you feel like going for the big fish and you want to start your own forest school or become a qualified leader, in April this year we're starting our level 3 training courses, so you can come down to Children of the Forest for a whole week and spend some time with me and Gemma and learn how to run our very own forest school. So to find out all the dates and to get booked into those courses, go either to our Facebook page or to our website, which is childrenoftheforest.com.
So you said you don't think you do anything to look after yourself.
At the moment, no, and that's
Do you
why
think-
I'm feeling so
Do you
pants,
think
man.
your
I'm at a
approach-
low ebb. I'll just be really honest.
You
I
are
need
a
it.
bit
I'm
of a
at a
low
low
ebb.
ebb.
Do you think though it's partly that you're because of the other constraints on your time, that you're only able to do what do they call it? You don't do prevention. You do my hip hurts today.
Yeah.
For a couple of days, I will do some stretches.
Yes.
And then it goes. And then
yes.
you know.
And also, I was like, right, okay, September,
Mhm.
my youngest is starting school. Okay, I have a bit more free time now. I'm going to really get into exercise. I'm going to go running. I'm going to cycle to work. And I did that for 2 weeks, not cycle to work every day, cycle to work once. And I went for 2 runs and I really enjoyed it. And then I got home and I was like, oh my gosh, I've done like 7.5k out of running, never running, you know, I haven't run for like over a year. And then I have basically overdone it and my pelvis really hurts, my muscles really hurt, and so I'm foolish. And I was talking to the osteopath about it. She was like, yeah, you can't do that, you've got to, and she hit the nail on the head. She's like, it's really frustrating when your fitness is not stopping you running, so that's the problem. It's like, for my headspace and my fitness, like I wasn't out of breath, I really want to keep going, but my muscles and my bones were going, what the hell are you doing? She's like, you need to literally go for 15 minutes and you'll feel really frustrated and you'll be like, but I could have kept going. You go 15 minutes and then increase it like 5 minutes at a time until your muscles catch up with your overall fitness. But I was pleasantly surprised by how fit I was, which is definitely doing this job, isn't it? It's like, even if you're not running, you're like walking and on your feet all the time, really. And walking up hills and, you know, playing chasing games and stuff. So so that was good.
And I think part of it is moving in. If anybody's into CrossFit, it's that functional movement of like, what do we do? What we do digging, and we do this, and we, you know, you have to carry weird shaped logs or buckets of water or stuff, you know, stuff that's not stable all the time, and that definitely plays into the like, the taxing nature of this job is that it isn't. If you know, people might go, oh yeah, well there's more physical jobs in a warehouse. I'm like, I'm sure there are. But they're uniform sized boxes, or they're uniform, you know, you're moving the same thing over and over again.
And also this job has a nice brain and body working together challenge element to it. So if you are doing some like big muscle group stuff, it's usually involved with your brain going, hang on a minute, how am I going to like lift that from there to there without dropping on a kid? Or how am I going to clean all these tarps with only this amount of water? Or do you know what I mean? Like, it's all about
it's purposeful.
Whole self, kind of problem solving, rather than just I am putting something on a conveyor belt or I am lifting a barbell or whatever. It's got a sort of purpose to it, which is pleasurable, because then you don't notice that you're doing it so much. And so, and with play as well. So if you're in flow, the times that I ache the most after doing this job is actually not through lifting, it's through stuff that I've done with my body whilst playing a game with some kids, which I haven't noticed at the time. So playing a game where you have to get you've got to get your feet off the ground, and I've been like hanging, you know, like a sloth or sloth, however you say it, on a horizontal branch. And didn't notice my muscles doing anything at the time. It was just like, this is really fun. Okay, another bit's over. La la la. And then in the morning I wake up and I'm like, what happened to my arms and my shoulders? Oh my god! And then you track it back, and it was literally that.
It's a very small scale version of you picking a car up off your kids. In that, like, the adrenaline and the flow of play makes you go, I could probably climb that.
Then, completely. You know,
I think that's sort of led neatly-ish, let's say, into. So that's the things that we do physically to look after ourselves. Do you think our physicality affects or how do you think our physicality affects the sessions and the groups?
I sometimes feel like grown-ups are looking at me like I'm a bit of a weirdo because of what I'm doing with my body. So if we're playing a game, I will be like, right, come on, we're all gonna run.
Yeah.
Like, watch me, you know. If it's a game which is a bit of a step in order to engage
Needs a buy-in.
Yeah, I will just like chuck everything at it and go, I'm really running. Oh, look at me. I've got this massive armload full of stones which I'm pretending are acorns, and I'm going to run around and hide them. And then I look at the adults' faces watching me doing it, and they're like, okay. I don't often see an adult behaving that way physically and maybe vocally as I'm going, I'm going to hide the acorns. I'm going to hide it over here. Oh no, they're watching me. Oh no. So, yeah.
You've got to zone the parents out.
I think that definitely affects the sessions. And I mean, you could run a session without doing that, but I kind of feel like...
Do you think you could? That's an interesting statement.
I mean, can you just explain it? Can you go, right, we're all going to do this. Go on then. Do it. And I kind of feel like that's a bit unfair. I feel like you sort of have to I don't know. It might have the reverse effect sometimes, but I feel like my theory is if people, children, adults, have seen me do it and I'm still okay, I haven't burst into tears out of embarrassment or fallen over and broken my leg, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've seen me do the test run of behaving that way.
Yeah.
It's okay. Now it's their turn. That's a bit more accessible.
I used to work doing this with someone who was, I'm gonna say he was an ex-Royal Marine. He might not have been a Royal Marine, but he was in the forces, and he was involved in the training of other
Forces people.
Forces people. Not in that world. I don't know the right words, but he was saying the first part of any of his skill workshops was him demonstrating how easily he could do it.
Yeah.
Because the mentality for him was that he was like, why would you even bother to listen to me if I can't do it?
Yep.
So he said and that goes for skill days, but also he said all of the instructors could outrun you on that 5-mile run,
right.
and they would do it. The first time, the first time you do it, they will like beast you and finish like 2 minutes before you, just so that every time after that they can stand there, and you know then when they tell you, you can do this or you need to be faster, that it's not the opposite end of the spectrum, which from my experience is PE teachers with a cup of soup standing there telling you to do the cross-country run. It's that other end where you look at some PE teachers, you go, you couldn't run around the field. Why am I doing this at 14 in the rain? You know, it's that thing. So I don't think it's quite that military element of like, you should listen to me because I can do it. But I do think it's part of relationship building to occasionally demonstrate and go, yep, I can do that thing, you know, and also it does seem maybe unfair is the wrong word, but it seems unbalanced to ask people to do a thing that you're not willing to do. Whether that's like running to play hide and seek or carrying some logs along, and okay, let's get the caveat in there. If you have something that physically prevents you from carrying that thing or from doing that action, there's no judgment on that. I'm not saying like, you know, people shouldn't be able to do whatever. But if you can, I think you should. Also to model, to go, we're all in, you know, it's that, it's not Stockholm, is it? You know, when you go, look, we've got to move all this firewood. I'm going to do it with you. Like the woodland management side of stuff. I'm always going, look, we've got to do it. It's got to get done. I will do as much as I can. I'm just asking that you do the same. You do as much as you can. Which is much better than, right, guys, today we're moving this from here to here. Right, I'll supervise it. You get the wheel back. You know, it feels.
Well, it's difficult. We've been talking as well about engaging children in some more physically challenging tasks, because sometimes they will say, I want to build this, or I want to do this, or I want to move this from here to here, and you go, okay, cool, and then you do start doing it in terms of like, I'm doing it with you, and then you look around and you realise they're not doing it, and you are doing it, and they're just going, okay, great, they're going to do it for me. As we've been talking about that quite a lot recently, haven't we? And so that is a really interesting challenge, because I definitely don't think they would respond to, like, at the outset, okay, there you go then. But then at some point, actually you do have to do that. If you realise there's a pattern of behaviour with a particular child or children, that actually they're never feeling that benefit of having done it. They're never feeling that sense of achievement having done it. They're never feeling that physical reaction of having used those big muscle groups, because they're just gone, oh cool, if I just stand there then they'll just do it for me.
And it's knowing the cost of, not the cost, but they're like, that if you'd built a play hospital and you'd moved all those logs up and you'd helped make the stretcher, you play with it in a different way, and you have a different ownership over it, rather than, oh yeah, while I was doing that, Lewis built this thing. There's no ownership to like, I just smash that, or you use it in a different way, or you know, the value judgment, that's the phrase I want to use, is very different.
And it is a you know, every session as a practitioner you have those moments where you think, how much of this do I demonstrate, or how much of this do I set up for you, whether it is using a drill or picking up a leaf off the floor or those kind of things, and how long you wait. And it's a bit like, I often think of that thing they say in teaching, that when you're teaching, if you ask a question, and then how long you pause before you ask for an answer. So, you know, they've timed it, and the average teacher will wait like 5 seconds. And if you ask them how long they think they're waiting, they think it's ages, because they're just like, oh my God, there's dead time. No one's saying anything. No one's saying anything. I'm going to say something now. I'm either going to give the answer, or I'm going to ask. I'm going to call on somebody for the answer. I'm going to rush that process along. And the same thing happens, I find, when, like today, we were making boats, drilling a hole, and then you can say, oh, you know, if you'd like to, you can look on the floor and find a stick that will fit in that hole snugly. And how long do you wait while that information is processed by a child before you then take it a step further and model, you do you know what I mean? I'm helping you to look, because to you, you're kind of, especially with the hustle and bustle of the session, you're thinking, okay, they're not getting it. They're not processing that information. I need to give them more by demonstrating.
The second you finish your sentence, you know what the next expected action is.
Yeah.
But when you finish your sentence, they've still got to process your sentence.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
But then that comes in, I think, to again tying it back into this physical thing of sometimes jobs. I say jobs like I mean work jobs. What I mean is like physical activities. I will, rather than explain it, just do it.
Yeah.
And just go, I'm going to do half of this, and then it's almost a bit of a... So apparently I don't know, because I've not worked in a Steiner school, but apparently it's a Steiner school thing that in the early years, the teacher just makes a loaf of bread every morning in the corner of the classroom, and the children kind of maybe watch it, or they can help if they want to, but it is a routine that happens all the time, and that just physically doing it in the corner and then going, that's what's happening, if you want to join in, great, is very different to, right everybody, wash your hands, we're all going to make bread. It's a different experience. And there's lots of things where well, a bit like you were saying, when you sort of go over the top to get a buy-in. So if you go, right, does anybody want to, I think it's a good time for hide and seek or capture the flag or hunters and rabbits or something, and it's like a pantomime run. You know, to just go, whoa, let's go, you know, and do that. And then I think if I didn't do that, if I just stood there and went, guys, come on, run, come on, run. Such a, maybe the same outcome, because maybe they would run. Yeah. But a very different outcome to go, oh, I'm playing with you, and this is a play thing, and there's no pressure to it, and all that stuff. And I think that is part of what keeps me going through the winter, is moving in big physical ways and finding stuff that can keep me because moving around a woodland in the winter is squelchy, and your boots feel heavy, and the kids are a bit like, I say the word mardy, maybe because it's raining, or they haven't noticed the rain, and you can watch someone getting increasingly cold because they're not paying attention at all to the fact that their boots have become the water feature, you know, and so I think having some level of physicality. I can't imagine doing a day in January, sat on my hands the whole day and going, because I'm out here with you. I need to get as warm as you need to get, and I need to move as much as you need to move. And
and that in itself is I remember doing a school session and with some older children, older as in top end of primary school, and the amount 10, 11, and the amount of games of hunters and rabbits we played that afternoon. But they wanted it. They were like, let's play again. And that experience of, well, when we stop, we feel really cold and we feel really uncomfortable, so let's keep playing. You know, where else are you going to get that? Hardly ever are you out, you know, you're forced to be outdoors, and actually you get the cold, so you go indoors, but actually we can't go indoors. We are just going to stay here. So how do we deal with that? Okay, we deal with that in this way, which is just so rare, you know. Like, we have to do that. And then we talk a lot about, don't we, about you can recognise that, and if you're a 10-year-old you can probably recognise that, but if you're a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old you can't recognise that. And then when it gets really cold, it is about how you engage younger children in that kind of physical activity when that's the last thing they feel like doing. They're cold and they immediately feel like just sitting still and, you know, slowing everything down.
I would say that it's quite often a thing that I see put onto children. So it's either I'm making broad sweeping statements here, right? I'm not thinking about individual people, but like teachers or support staff in schools, and then sometimes parents when they come here, because they have sat still, their perception is like we all, our theory of mind extends only as far as our experience. So because they've sat still and maybe tried to have a coffee and maybe tried to sit within our fire pit is from the benches to the fire pit, you're talking 6 foot. Right, so they sit on the circle or they stand at the edge of the playground and then when a child is slightly upset, they project onto it all of their own feelings of cold because they haven't joined in Hunters and Rabbits and they haven't done this, and then they go, oh, I need to go in, or I think we need to go home, and actually, and we as leaders, part of I think our empathy is moving as much of as the children so that we can have a better theory of mind of how they might be feeling.
Yeah.
And you notice more things of like like we've been playing some stuff you have to adjust. So like we've been playing hide and seek every day ever since we started the kindergarten. That is just a staple of early years play in the woods. But if we just stood and watched it, I don't know that we would necessarily have the level of empathy that we do, that has meant that we've gone, there's not enough hiding places. I think we need to build that out.
Yeah.
And that like deeper level of understanding, rather, sometimes you need to be an observer and be a distance away, but I think you should always have the option open to you to go, if I wanted to join in your play, I could. And even if you choose not to for whatever reason, you might go, I'm not doing tree climbing because there's somebody chopping wood here and actually I need to watch that. I'm not saying you should try and climb the tree and watch the act, but I think you should always be able to meet them and go, right, well, I can be this play. It's a bit like we talked before in the evolutionary play work and about the roles of the different play workers, and there's I can't remember the names of them, but the one that's very removed and very facilitating but at a distance, and then there's the other end of the spectrum that is like big brother, big sister, I'm fully involved in the game and this is almost my game, if you like. And I would feel sad if I saw someone that I thought needed that big brother, big sister play worker role, and I wasn't able to facilitate it for them. I feel like I feel very pleased that I'm always able to go. I will always, and right now I'm not 30 yet, and there's not a kid that I can't outrun in the woods, and and then and also very selfishly, that gives me more control over the Hunters and Rabbits games, because when I'm a rabbit, I can decide how long this game's going on, and I can decide who am I going to run really fast round, and who am I going to run, who do I need to give a wide berth to, and I don't know, that
you've got that choice.
I've got a choice.
It's a privilege.
It is. And then I guess I need to, eventually my knees will give out, as all knees. Have you seen, this is off topic, there's a, I guess it's a meme, but it's like not using your, it's 3 bits, and it's like not using your knees is bad for your knees,
right?
And using your knees too much is bad for your knees. Maybe knees are just bad. It's that thing, isn't it? So I guess that's kind of my thoughts on physicality, and I do think we could lean into a whole separate podcast about children's physicality. I think that's a separate topic, and we may get someone else to come in and help and talk to us about that, because we know somebody who's good on physicality. We do. But otherwise, I think we'll leave it there. The wind is picking up.
Okay. Home time. Time for lunch.
Bye.